we're hearing now isn't part of some Basque conversation. It isn't a war whoop. It's a sort of call, a signal sung from France to Spain. It has to do with pigeons. There they are. Believe it or not, those pigeons are flying directly over the regular smuggling route. They do it every year. Every day, more than 1,000 people smuggle something or other across this border. I don't know how many pigeons there are up there, but I can assure you that smuggling is the biggest industry in these parts, except during the pigeon season. These are German and English pigeons, very orderly and methodical pigeons, and they turn up annually at this border, just at this time, just here, where the Basques on both sides, working in perfectly illegal and harmonious cooperation, catch them. Catch is the right word, too, because here pigeons aren't shot at. The rifle fire is only a sound effect, produced by that long strip of cloth on the pole. This saves ammunition and persuades the impressionable German pigeon that he is being shot at. Those wooden discs, suggesting at the same time that he's being chivied by hawks. But in fact, he and the rest of his flock are only being rounded up and corralled. A maneuver of the highest intricacy and beauty that begins in France and ends in Spain, where the birds are netted out of the sky like fish. That's a Basque invention. So is whaling. Yes, the fantastic notion that the world's biggest creature could be hunted and harpooned from an open boat was actually dreamed up by the Basque sailors on this coast. Let's not forget the beret either. Every Basque invents the beret all over again when he puts it on. There seems to be no end to the angles, no limit to the variations of individual tilt. They have their own customs and costumes, of course, and their own music, their own dances. Most important of all, their own ball game, pelote. I think we'll keep our cameras mainly focused on that ball game. Pelote is the overall name. Yoko, Gabi, Grand, Chista, Rebo, Fronton. What we know is High-Lie are all variations. Everybody up here plays some form of it. All you really need is a ball and a wall. And a little Basque blood in your veins. Well, I haven't any of that. And I'm no pelote player, but I've grown so fond of this part of the world that I do feel somehow related to it. That orchestra you've been seeing and that you're still hearing, it's called the Estudiantina. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's a group of teenagers who get together in a little village in the Basque country and make that nice music. And the guitar player happens to be an American, an 11-year-old American friend of mine. We're going to meet him in a minute. There's a man who loved the Basque country more than I do. Really more because he lived here longer. I've never lived here. I'm just a visitor. I came down to visit him and his family. It was Lael Wertenbaker, the writer, great friend of mine, a great man. And he died just a little while ago, and I came down here to see his family. Of course, the first thing I did was to look up his 11-year-old son, Chris, whom you've seen playing the guitar. I went over to the school just after hours, and the kids came rushing down out of the school and streaming through the streets, and the first thing they did was go to the pelote court. Chris, come here. Hey, Chris. Hi. What are you doing? What are you playing?
Playing pelote.
Pelote? That's a far cry from baseball. American boy to be playing pelote. I don't even know the rules of the game. Are you a champion?
No.
You aren't? Well, who is? Introduce me to the champion.
Vient.
Bernard, that's your best friend. Well, hello, Bernard. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Well, if you're the champion of this particular group, Bernard, you must have begun when you were quite young. Ask him.
3 years old.
3 years old. Well, people of all ages play this game. Sheep herders and mountaineers, the smugglers, the fishermen. And they come in their day's fishing as soon as they've weighed in their catch, and they get right over to the pelote court and start a game. Yes, a Basque is practically born with a pelote ball in his hand. Fishermen just off their boats like these, priests like this who've just finished saying Mass, and up in the mountains, shepherds, and most important for the local economy, smugglers. All divert themselves with some form of this vigorous game. It's supposed to be older than the Roman occupation. And there's a legend that the first game of all was played in the Garden of Eden, using the apple for a ball.
Yeah.
Well, there's one thing. Before Chris climbs out of the cherry tree, I'd like to ask him a question that a lot of people have asked me. Is there any money to be made out of this game? Do people make money out of it?
Well, the professionals are paid, I reckon, and they bet on each other.
Come on, give me a cherry. I'm hungry. That's right.
Well, this is Grand Schistera. It's the official name. What we're watching here. Hi, Chris.
Hi.
Who's that wonderful player there, Chris?
Oh, he's Vichinarits, the best, the one who plays best.
He is.
Court.
On this court, is he the best player in the
No,
of the
he's
game?
the second best player, and I'd rather he win.
Who's the head of that other team there?
That's Paulangzi.
Oh, I know him.
Yeah, from the drugware store.
The drugware store.
And the hardware store.
The hardware store, that's right, we saw it. That ball really goes, doesn't it? Violently. Sometimes it's hit near me and it scares me.
Well, it hits people sometimes.
I know it does. There's a story about somebody being killed by one deliberately
Oh,
that I
yes.
heard. Who was that?
Pierre Kites.
He was a famous player, and he threw a ball at the chief of police, didn't he?
Yes.
Because the chief of police wanted to arrest him, and so he just threw the ball during the game and knocked him out, killed him. Well, it's a great game, isn't it?
Well, it's all right, but it's for the tourists.
Now, come on, Chris. You don't mean that they play this game just to please the tourists.
Well, yes,
They
sort
like
of.
the
They like
game.
Yoki Garby better, and so
They like
sort
Yoki
of
Garby
everybody.
better than Grand
Yes.
Schistera. Well, why?
Because, well, it's
It's like this, isn't it, Yoki Garby?
yeah, but there's a shorter basket, and so the ball moves faster.
Because the basket is shorter, the
Yes.
game is quicker. Well, okay, we'll go over a little later and take a look at Yoki Garby. A ball and a wall. That's the basis. That particular wall, as a matter of fact, is the only one I've found in this country where pelote is actually forbidden. Not that anybody seems to be taking the sign very seriously. I think maybe if it had been written in Basque, that sign, instead of French, they might have obeyed it. See, what they're really doing is upholding the Basque right to play pelote wherever they feel like it, indeed Basque rights in general. Because, of course, the Basques are law-abiding people, even if they don't take a French sign very seriously, and even if they practice the ancient and tricky and rather skilled profession of smuggling. There's an old Basque saying that as the horns are to a bull, so is his word to a Basque.